Shalom, friends, and welcome to Walking the Ancient Path, where we journey back into the language, landscape, and life rhythms of the Scriptures in a lighter, more accessible way, exploring the world of the Bible as its original listeners would have experienced it.
Today, we'll pick up our in-depth exploration of the entire book of Galatians verse by verse and unpack each passage within the context of organic ancient Hebrew thought, formatted like a living Hebrew commentary.
Let's pick up where we left off, Galatians chapter 2.
Verse 19 and 20. For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto God. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh I live, by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me.
For through the Torah itself I died to the Torah, so that I might live to Yahweh. I have been fastened to the execution stake together with the Anointed. Yet I live. But it is no longer I alone who live. It is the Anointed who lives within me. And the life I now walk out in this fleshly body, I live in steadfast trust in the Son of Yahweh, who loved me and laid himself down for me.
Through the law, I died to the law. Paul is not despising Torah, but saying its role led him to death. In Hebrew imagery, Torah is like a tutor guiding a child until maturity. Once its purpose is fulfilled, the child enters a new phase of life. Through Torah's witness, Paul recognized his own condemnation, and so he died under its weight, set free from its authority as judge. That I might live unto God, death to Torah as condemner brought new life directly under Yahweh's covenant embrace. In imagery, stepping out of a prison wall into an open pasture. I am crucified with Christ. More accurately, I have been co-crucified. In Hebrew imagery, nailed to the execution stake alongside Yeshua so that the old Shaul also died there. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, a paradox. Paul is breathing, but his old self is gone. His life has become a vessel. Using Hebrew imagery, an empty jar now filled with new wine. Christ lives in me. The Anointed dwells within. It's not just a metaphor, but the actual presence of Yeshua's life inside me. In Hebrew thought, his breath and vitality energize every step I take. The life which I now live in the flesh. Paul isn't denying his earthly existence. He still lives in a mortal body. I live by the faith of the Son of God. Trust in the Son of Yahweh. The foundation of his life is emunah, steadfast covenant trust in the Son. Some interpret it as by the faithfulness of the Son. Both meanings apply in Hebrew imagery. Paul lives leaning on Yeshua's loyalty and responds with his own trust. Who loved me and gave himself for me. This makes the covenant deeply personal. The Anointed self-sacrifice isn't just history, but the core of Paul's own life.
Verse 21. I do not frustrate the grace of God. For if righteousness come by the law, then Christ is dead in vain.
I will not set aside the favor of Yahweh, for if righteousness could be gained through Torah, then the Anointed's death would have been for nothing.
I do not frustrate the grace of God. The word frustrate here means to set aside, nullify, treat as empty. In Hebrew imagery, Paul is saying he will not toss aside Yahweh's favor like water spilled on the ground. The grace of God, favor of Yahweh. Chen is the Father's stooping kindness, his covenantal delight in lifting the undeserving. To deny this is to shut the tent flap in the face of Yahweh's gift. If righteousness come by the law, if tzedakah, righteous standing, could be achieved by Torah keeping, then Messiah's sacrifice was unnecessary. In imagery, if men could climb the mountain on their own, why would the shepherd have descended into the valley to carry them up? Then Christ is dead in vain. The Anointed's death would be emptied of meaning like a well with no water. Paul insists, Messiah's death is the only fountain of righteousness, and to turn elsewhere is to call that fountain dry.
Well, that's a wrap for Galatians 2 in the verse-by-verse ancient Hebrew imagery rendering. Would you mind providing a recap that captures the rhythm of chapters 1 and 2, Hope?
In the cadence of the Textus Receptus, Paul raises his voice with urgency. The Besorah he proclaims is not from humans, nor taught by human hands, but revealed by Yeshua, the Anointed himself. He is amazed that the group is so quickly turning away to a different message, yet there is no other, only those who distort it. Even if an angel from heaven were to preach a different gospel, let him be cursed. This word is seed from Yahweh, not a human invention. Paul recalls his journey. Once he zealously pursued the Kahal beyond measure, until Yahweh revealed his Son within him and sent him to the nations. He didn't hurry to Jerusalem for counsel, but traveled alone until the appointed time. Finally, he met James, Peter, and John, who recognized the same grace burning in him and extended the right hand of fellowship, telling him to go to the nations as they to the circumcision, only reminding him to remember the poor, which already rested in his heart. But in Antioch, a fire broke out. Peter, who once ate freely with Gentiles, withdrew in fear of the circumcision party, and others stumbled along with him. Paul stood before him and said, "You are not walking straight in line with the truth of the Besorah. For we know no flesh is made right by Torah markers, but only through trust in Yeshua the Anointed. If we rebuild what was torn down, we prove ourselves transgressors. Through Torah, Paul died to Torah, that he might live unto Yahweh. And he declares, I have been crucified with the Anointed, yet I live. No longer I, but the Anointed lives in me. The life I now breathe in this body, I breathe by trust in the Son of Yahweh, who loved me and gave himself for me. To seek righteousness through Torah is to empty the cross of its power. For if it could be gained that way, then the Anointed died in vain."
Speaking of the Textus Receptus, Deacon, can you explain why we are using it to reference each verse and why it's helpful?
Translating directly from the Textus Receptus, TR, can certainly help by removing layers of later translation and engaging the Greek text more directly, preserving some of the author's original imagery and intent. However, the TR itself was compiled from a limited set of late manuscripts, so while it reflects the faith and text tradition of the Reformation era, it does not always represent the earliest or most original readings. For the most precise understanding of Scripture as its first hearers would have grasped it, the TR is a valuable tool, but best used alongside other manuscript traditions, the Hebrew thought world behind the Greek, and the cultural setting of the text. Together, this helps strip away later philosophical or theological overlays and bring the words back into their ancient, concrete context. And the most common texts used in the New Testament of the English Bible today are the Textus Receptus and the Critical Text, CT, such as Nestle Aland UBS editions. Both are very similar overall and agree in about 95% or more of the text. Most of the differences are minor, related to word order, spelling, and synonyms. For centuries, the TR was the standard text in the West, shaping Protestant translations and doctrine. Galatians is textually very stable between TR and CT. Where differences exist, they are small, usually stylistic, not theological. For your ancient Hebrew imagery work, you can confidently treat Galatians as a solid base, without needing to stop often for TR/CT divergences.
We'll pause here and continue in our next chat.
If you listeners have areas of interest you'd like to explore further, questions, or comments, please don't hesitate to let us know.